Ladies and gentlemen, we have been working all day, and now it's after work. I'm slapping mics. It's about to go crazy. I'm Joe. This is the After Work Show. We are back, and yes, we're going to be talking about more Nintendo Switch. At some point, you know, once all this Nintendo Switch news fizzles out, we'll be able to broaden the subjects, talk about more video games, things in the gaming industry and whatnot. I keep moving my hands like this because I like to. So, the Nintendo.co.uk website has specs on the Nintendo Switch. However, the US Nintendo website, as of this recording, still does not have it. So, the fact that I had to go to this website in order to get specifications, a little odd. I don't know what the difference is between the two. Maybe there's a different marketing strategy behind that I'm unaware of. So first things up, it's going to be a straight rundown. We've got the power button, we've got the volume buttons on the upper left hand corner, both together hand in hand. You've got the 6.2 inch capacitive touchscreen, which again, I can't tell you how much that screen size is like perfect for this. It looks beautiful, it looks great. Playing Splatoon on it was fine. Using the touch screen to you know, throw myself over to other teammates to help them out. Number 4, we've got speakers on both the left and the right side, so perfect for stereo. Again, I couldn't really hear what was going on in the game once I got it into handheld mode because there was booming music everywhere and people talking, so I can only faintly hear it, and they didn't allow me to plug into the headphone jack either, so that's the other thing, and we'll get into that in a minute there. Game card, sold separately, clearly, at number 5. You can tell right away it doesn't look like a 3DS cartridge, so they're being pretty straightforward that this may just be, you know, my hopes and dreams are dashed. And I started to think about it too. Is like, how would that even work? Because the technology is probably not there to separate the screen and the handheld to have the dual screens to do that, like watching the top screen on your TV and the bottom, and then the Switch itself being the touch screen, the bottom screen of the 3DS. So it's all right, still got my 3DS, not the end of the world. Number 6, audio jack. Now here's the interesting thing, because we were talking about apps in another video that Nintendo mentioned during the press conference, but the audio jack here says for connecting commercially available headphones, microphones, or headsets. So does this mean that we're still going to be able to communicate directly on the Switch itself? Will there be party chat still built into the UI, and whatever that app is just a second alternative in case you don't want to use the gamepad headset? But this is interesting, because I would have thought, I was already accepting the fact that I was going to have to use my phone. It's fine, but it seems like, you know, you might be able to just do party chat straight from the Switch, which is great. That's what every other console does. I'm sure a lot of people would be happy if this becomes the situation here. Number 7, you've got the game card slot, which I don't know why they did that after the game card, but that's fine. Number 8 are the rails on the left and right, so you can slide down the Joy-Cons for either charging or to take it out into handheld mode. And another thing I forgot to mention in my last video is Joy-Con controllers themselves are supposed to last 20 hours or so, so that's a pretty lengthy freaking time, and I don't know, I doubt that part of the charge time changes based on what game you're playing. I think that's just pretty straightforward. It's more or less when the Switch itself is in docked or TV mode. And then number 9 is the brightness sensor. I'm trying to look for, oh, okay. So it seems like it's sort of off-centered toward closer to the left-hand side of where the, on the bottom screen of the Switch itself, where I guess you're going to be able to, just like with the Nintendo 3DS, 3XL, the entire 3DS family line, you've got your auto brightness. Sort of like how every phone nowadays has the little sensor up on the top here for auto brightness. All right, so that was the front. Now let's check out the back. One thing I do want to point out before we get into this, there's like these 5 little pockets of squares that they don't address on here, and it's fine because it's not completely necessary. That's actually where everything is being vented out for the graphics card. You can actually see the fan there. I'm assuming that that's what it is, the heatsink to cool either the processor or the GPU that's in there. Number 1 on the back is the stand. Why was I so confused by that? By adjusting the stand, the console can be propped up independently on flat surfaces such as floors and tables. This is actually really, really handy that I'm witnessing this right now, because I was a little worried. You guys saw this in my accessories breakdown video. I'm afraid of two things: breaking that stand on the back piece, and also not being able to charge while I have it propped up on this stand. So I bought that Hori stand that I'm able to prop up and adjust the swivel on the stand of the Hori thing that I bought, and able to still charge at the same time. It looks like you're still able to charge while you're in this standing position, but let's move on. We'll get into that as the last part. So number 2, micro SD card slot. And I'll just read the summation real quick. Supports micro SD, micro SDHC, micro SDXC memory cards. Game data that cannot fit on the console's memory can be stored on these. Please note, an update via internet connection is required to use micro SDXC memory cards. Okay, so it looks like you can use the entire array of micro SDs on this one, which is cool. I have a ton of micro SD cards that I have used on an array of cameras. Previous original 3DSs where I had the adapter going in, I have it on my new 3DS XL. So yeah, I believe the fastest one is the micro SD XC, just the way it's built in and made. And then there's like this whole thing that's like, oh, but get the class 10 that transfers faster on the 3DS XL. So I'm assuming that's going to work the same way here. I don't even know if the load times are going to be really that different between micro SDs. If someone can explain to me down in the comments below the differences between the three, I believe SDXC is probably the best one you want to go with, but also keep in mind that they all range in different prices. So Nintendo said that they will support 1 and 2 terabyte micro SDs when they come out, when they're available. No idea when the hell that's gonna happen, because I believe the largest one you can buy right now are 500 gigs, which is half a terabyte, not terrible. But considering the fact that we are getting, even though we're back to cartridges, you gotta remember, cartridges can hold a lot more memory than they did back in the day. The fact that we can digitally download these games, it can get pretty damn pricey. If you want to get an SDXC 200 gigabyte SD card, or what is it, 256 and then 512, I think is the highest so far. They range in so many different prices. It's so odd. Like, you can go from like a 32 for 20 bucks and then a 64 for 30, but then if you want to go like 100 something, I forget what, the 128 or 256, 500, then it's like you're going upwards of like close to 250. It's just insane right now. So it's like, if I'm going to spend money on a memory card that's almost the price of a Switch, I may have to consider cartridges for this console for the moment, and then pick and choose my digital downloads. I just can't see myself spending more money when I've pre-ordered all these accessories, and I finally got the Pro Controller. I missed out on Amazon and GameStop. Got it at Best Buy. Moving on, we've got 2 more here for the back. The rail, again, uses groove to attach Joy-Con. I don't know why they deemed it to add it on there. But the last thing, which we're going to circle back now when we were talking about the stand, is the USB Type-C connector. Connects devices such as AC adapters or a Nintendo Switch dock here. No mention of external hard drives being added in. I think they would have addressed that by now if it was going to be able to take in hard drives, external hard drives with USB-C. I'd imagine the reason they didn't put that function is because they're probably trying to preserve as much battery life as possible, and adding another thing to connect into there is just going to take up juice. Like, it's just gonna kill the battery even more. You think about it, that's more processing power being thrown at the Switch in order to keep that thing booted up in there. You have to make sacrifices. I get it. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. What I do hope for, though, is, you know, you can charge it either dock or AC adapter. Is it gonna let me charge via a USB-C charger that's like the Mophie juice packs or something like that? Are there even USB-C charging packs? Maybe this is a market for it. Guys, third-party vendors, come at me. You got my money if that's the case. All right, so that's the front and back of it. Now there's a whole sheet for Nintendo Switch console specs themselves. We'll go down them real quick. I'll skip some of this stuff, but I'll leave it in the screenshots. It's probably in front of me, or to, actually, you know what? Since I haven't done this, it's got to be in front of me. My bad. Look at me doing terrible on this. I'm not re-recording this. we're just gonna keep it going. Okay, so since we have to be different from everyone else around the world, I've got to do some conversions here. So first thing we're gonna go through is the weight. We already know the size more or less. The screen size is the most important thing to me, to be honest with you. So the weight of this thing is approximately 297 grams, which when I converted it is about half a pound. Pretty damn light. With it, that's just the Switch console itself, mind you. With the Joy-Con controllers, it says 398 grams. Let's just do that real quick. So that's about 0.8 or 14 ounces. Either way you look at it, it's pretty light. When I held it in my hand, it felt heavier than that. But I guess that's because of all the chains and cables that they had all around it, blocking it off, so that way you really couldn't see anything underneath or up on top. Which they were really, and I'm talking about at the NYC event, so they were really protective of, like, I guess people taking actual photos of what's up and underneath the Switch itself, which, I mean, you can't blame them. They wanted to keep it secret. They want to be the ones telling you the thing that they've created. So I can respect that. Moving on, we've got the screen, which we mentioned was already 6.12-inch LCD screen. Surprised that's actually not an LED screen, but I guess to cut down costs, they made it an LCD. And the resolution is 1280 by 720, so 720p is the max resolution that you're gonna put out on this. Surprised they don't mention the frames per second. I'll get into it in a minute here, where we talk about video output for the TV. So bear with me here, just going down the order of this list. So now CPU, GPU, NVIDIA customized Tegra processor. So this was a big thing that a lot of people were clamoring about, whether it was a previous gen NVIDIA GPU or if this was the more current one. So I'm not entirely well versed in the CPU GPU race. I have built my own PC, but I'm still not, like, you know, I don't go outside of what I have here. But from what I understand and what I looked up, the Tegra processors are are more of the mobile processor, so that's what's built in here. And that would make sense because you're also taking this thing on the go as well. You have the ability to do both, so it would make sense if they're using something mobile. But it also says customized, so guess that they spec'd it out differently. NVIDIA spec'd it out differently just specifically for Switch, which I wouldn't be surprised because I feel like Sony and Microsoft probably do the same thing when they're building out their consoles as well. System memory. Now here's where I sort of have a problem with this, but you know what? It is what it is. 32 gigabytes. Please note a portion of this internal memory is reserved for use by the system. So we're probably looking at 28, 29 gigs after the initial software that's in the system to run it, to run the OS. 32 gigs in this generation, quite small given the file sizes of most games coming out this year, or, you know, within the last 5 to 10 years for that matter. I'm including the PS3, Xbox One, Xbox 360 era as well. 32 seems to be the number that Nintendo likes to stick with. We saw it on the Wii U. The Wii had 8 and 16, so it was even less than, you know, the generation prior to the last. With Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild being 13 gigabytes, and on the Wii U, it's got a 3 gigabyte additional install once you get the game in there, so woo, there's that as well. So you're already taking up more than half the space on this bad boy if you don't either have an SD card or you just go ahead and buy the cartridge. I'm buying the cartridge day one on this one because I want to make sure that I have it ready for you guys when I start streaming this and not having to wait to download it. I did that, and with 1-2 Switch as well, and then I think going forward, if I do end up getting a micro SD card that's large enough to start fitting some games digitally, I'll do that, but I'm still on the fence with that. I still haven't fully made up my mind yet, so I'll let you guys know what I end up doing day one when Switch is out. Communication features. So here we go. We're gonna break down wireless and Bluetooth functionality. So you got wireless LAN, which supports 802.11 ABC, N, and AC compliant. Thank you. Finally, we've got 3 consoles now that run AC and N networks. This is great. Again, when we did our PS4 Pro unboxing, the downloads were a bit slow at the time, but they've gotten gradually better. So I don't know if that's because they've done updates and tweaks to the Wi-Fi portion of the PS4, but when I downloaded the digital version of Resident Evil 7, that only took like 45 minutes for 23 gigabytes, so it might have played into both that and my Wi-Fi network as well. I updated my router. I got a new router now, so that works. Streams have been great also. That's just a side note there. So I think that also played part in it. But I'm really glad that Nintendo is embracing the newer tech for the routers as well. Bluetooth 4.1, which is TV mode only. A wired LAN connection is possible through use of a commercially available wired LAN network. So of course there's no Ethernet port on the dock, which means either you can just stay Wi-Fi only, which I actually do that with all my consoles. I even do that with my PC when I'm streaming. I'm streaming on Wi-Fi because the router is a little too far away. I know it's not the ideal situation, but it's been working fine at 1080/60, so I can't complain right now. I guess you can just buy any LAN adapter, USB to Ethernet, and then from there just grab an Ethernet cord and punch it right into your router if you really want that direct connection. Wi-Fi has been getting so much better lately, at least in terms of like the tech and whatnot. You've got all these like mesh network solutions as well from like Google and Netgear. I feel like I'm missing another company that does it, that's doing it recently. So Wi-Fi might just be the way to go. It seems like, I mean, everyone does it with their phones now. This thing being handheld also is just another reason for it to just remain Wi-Fi. I don't see the big deal in it, but I can understand if people want that direct router connection. Okay, so going back to video output, here we go, guys. We've got maximum resolution of 1920 by 1080p at 60 frames per second, but that is only in TV mode, so bear that in mind when you're playing your games. In tabletop mode and handheld mode, the maximum resolution, as we mentioned before, 1280, geez, Joe, 1280 by 720, which matches the screen resolution. So 720p, I'm assuming because they don't mention 60 frames per second here, that it's dropping down to 30 frames per second on the handheld whenever you're playing mobilely. Mobilely, is that even a word? Who cares? It's my show. So audio output supports linear PCM 5.1 channel. Please note output via HDMI cable in TV mode. Okay, so it seems like it supports surround sound only in TV mode, not like those virtual surround sound headsets that you have. Sort of like I had the PlayStation headset that does the virtual surround sound thing with certain games. So I guess it only supports an actual surround sound system only if you're in HD. If you're in TV mode, I'm losing my mind, guys. Sorry. Speakers are stereo. USB terminal is USB Type-C. We've explained that already. Used for charging or for connecting to the Nintendo Switch dock. Headphone mic jack, stereo output. So again, I think they're kind of just telling us that we're going to be able to talk through some sort of party chat or in-game chat while we're on the Switch directly. Game card slots exclusively for Nintendo Switch game cards. They're being pretty straightforward about that. No surprises there. We've talked about micro SDs already. The sensors that are built into it are accelerometer, gyroscope, and brightness sensor. Operating environment, temperature, if you guys are curious about it, 5 to 35 degrees Celsius, and humidity at 20 to 80%. Wow, I feel like I'm at work all over again. 41 degrees Fahrenheit to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the internal battery, no surprise there, lithium ion, so that way it's rechargeable. The internal battery cannot be removed. The battery needs to be replaced. Nintendo offers a plan to replace via the Nintendo customer support. I don't think I've ever had to do that, but it's there. It's nice that they have a support system there for that. Battery life, again, they've gone over this already, but it's here, so we'll talk about it. Lasts for more than 6 hours and varies depending on software usage. So they give an example. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild will run for roughly 3 hours on a single charge in handheld mode, and the charging time to end it off is 3 hours to do a full charge, and that is while in sleep mode. So if you turn it off, odds are you'll probably be able to charge it for a shorter time. Maybe it drops it by an hour or so. They don't say that here, but that is all the specs on the Nintendo Switch. And that's gonna end today's episode of the After Work Show. Let me know what you guys thought about the breakdown of the specs. Are you guys still excited for Switch? Were you able to pre-order one? Are you still thinking about trying to get one day one? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time. So with that, take care. Love y'all. Before I go, I know I just said goodbye, but I forgot some stuff. Resident Evil 7 full playlist is out. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, almost the entire playthrough should be up on the channel. I'll leave playlists for that up in the corner, and also my subscribing channel right here if you guys are enjoying the content. I know I'm like going all the way up here. And also the entire Afterwork show playlist there. And probably underneath me over here that might be covering my face is everything Nintendo Switch related. It has video of like my time at the NYC event if you guys are still interested in seeing that thingy here, and the subscribe button right there. So if you guys enjoyed it, take care. Love y'all.